Today, I'm rolling up my sleeves, quite literally here, and getting ready to make some bread. But not just any bread, I'm making treacle bread. It's a quick bread, it's not a yeast bread, and I will be showing you exactly how to make it right now. Thanks for joining me on Susan's Cozy Kitchen. Okay, so the first question is, what is treacle? That's something that you don't see here in America. When I looked up what to substitute for treacle in America, it recommended molasses. So that's what I'm using today. First thing to do, I'm using my air fryer to cook the bread. I'm going to preheat my air fryer on bake 375, 35 minutes. Time for the ingredients, and they are simple and few. In my bowl, I've already measured out 2 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, I'm going to add a cup of whole wheat flour. To that, in this little cup, I have a teaspoon of baking soda, a half teaspoon of salt, and a scant half teaspoon of ginger. All right. Just mixing together the flours and the soda and salt and ginger so that everything is well incorporated and it's all mixed in together really well. Time for the wet ingredients. I have 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk. To that, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of molasses. And a good trick on molasses, spray the inside of your measuring cup or measuring spoon, spray it with some cooking spray, and it will slide right out. Now, I'm mixing the molasses and the buttermilk together so that they're fully incorporated before I put them in here. So, just a little whisk, and now I'm going to pour this in here. And stir this together. And it should make kind of a dry dough. And it is definitely a dry dough. Okay. All of the flour is not working into the dough yet, so I'm going to grab my buttermilk out of the refrigerator, and a tablespoon at a time, I'm going to add buttermilk until I get all the flour to work into the dough. Here's the first tablespoon of buttermilk. Let me sprinkle that on there. Okay, so there's 1. I think it's going to take at least 1 more, maybe 2 more. So let's see, let me sprinkle that across and on there. That might do it. You know what? 2 tablespoons was all I needed. So, and you know, the next time I make this, depending on the day, the weather conditions, whatever, I may not need to add any buttermilk, or I may need to add more buttermilk than I did today. So it's just one of those things that you have to play it by ear, see what your dough calls for, and then follow through with that. Now the fun part, it's time to knead the dough. I've washed my counter, it's nice and clean. I'm going to sprinkle a 1/4 cup of flour onto the counter, swish it around, give myself a nice spot to turn the dough out, and let's just dump this out. Okay. I always like to sprinkle a little flour over the top of whatever dough I'm kneading, and then you just want to give it a gentle knead around about 8 to 10 times. You don't want to overwork your bread. Remember, this is a quick bread, so you don't want to overdo it. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I just wanted it to be nice and smooth. Just patting it into a nice little round shape. Okay, and I'm going to transfer it to my baking sheet that I've already covered with some parchment paper. All right, quick cleanup there. All right, so here's my 12-inch pizza pan that fits into my air fryer just perfectly, and that's what I end up cooking a lot of things on. So I've got the parchment paper already cut, I've got it on there, and now I'm going to take a knife and just make an X about a half an inch, maybe not even that deep. Now I'm going to do another one going across the other way, kind of get that spot there in the middle nice and pretty. All right. So I have it in the oven, 375. I have it set for 35 minutes, but I will definitely be checking it before that time is up. Okay, so here's what happened. I totally made a mistake when I made this loaf of bread. When I made this bread, I really should have lowered the temperature to 350 for the full time. I started it out at 375. Eventually I lowered the temperature to 350. This thing is a brick. I mean, it is a brick. It is so hard. It's still not finished cooking inside, and I have cooked this thing now for 45 minutes and it's still doughy inside. So because of that, I went to start up another one. I mixed it up exactly the same. It still took 2 extra tablespoons of buttermilk to get the dough to come together the way I wanted. I kneaded it, again, 8 to 10 times. But when I patted it out, I did go a little bit thinner with how I patted it out. And when I did the X in this one, I did cut it deeper this time. So those are the differences. Everything else is exactly the same. All the measurements, how I mixed it together, everything is the same. Now I'm going to put this into a preheated conventional oven. It's preheated at 375. I'm going to set my timer for 35 minutes. All right, according to the timer, I still have about 3 minutes left. I just looked in at the bread. It's looking really good. I tapped it, it sounded good, so I'm going to pull it out real quick and check it. Oh yeah. This time, it looks the way it should. And it's done. Get this on to the rack to cool. And here we are. The bread has cooled. It smells fantastic. It looks good. Here's my bread knife. I'm just going to cut one of these corners out. Oh wow, look at that. Look how beautiful that is inside. Oh, yummy. You smell the molasses? There's just the mildest hint of a ginger scent to it. Okay, so now that I have some cut, let me cut a slice. Taste it just plain first. It's sweet, but it's not overly sweet. It's really tasty. Just the barest hint of ginger. The outer edge has a little bit of crustiness, a little crunch to it, which is fabulous. I mean, you know, you want your bread to have that little crunch, so that's lovely. Let's add a little butter. Okay. Just a nice little swipe of butter. And soda bread with a swipe of butter across it cannot be beaten. This is fantastic. After my earlier fiasco in the air fryer, I wasn't sure if I would ever make this again. But after cooking it in the oven, doing it right this time, I really like this. I think this is something that I will definitely serve again in the future. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure and give it a big thumbs up. If you've not already, please do subscribe to the channel, and while you're there, hit the notification bell so that you find out every time I upload a new video to YouTube. Thanks for watching. God bless.